With new turmoil in the Gulf, 250,000 people could lose their job this year as the UK economy risks sliding into recession. It's not just oil prices rising. Food inflation is predicted to reach 10% by the end of the year. And the succession of bad news has caused a collapse in UK consumer confidence, with last month showing the biggest fall in 4 years. Now, after tentative signs of recovery at the start of the year, this latest crisis has blown another hole into the government's plans. Quarterly GDP figures have been volatile, but these figures don't yet reflect the hit from the Iran war. And the IMF warned that the UK economy is particularly vulnerable to this external shock. It will see the biggest downgrade to growth. And if you look at GDP per capita, the long-term picture is even worse. It's an economy in a long-term funk, barely reaching positive growth. And so it only takes an external shock to push a weak economy into negative growth. It's not so much a short-lived recession like in the past, but more prolonged stagnation, slowly eating away at confidence and investment. And it does raise the question, why is the UK susceptible to economic shocks? Well, of course, the UK electricity prices are amongst the highest in the world, and another rise in energy prices will lead to negative real income growth this year, a key factor in pushing weak consumer sector into spending even less. High electricity prices have already caused a deep recession in the industrial sector, with firms warning that high costs are crippling their competitiveness. This means that with industrial decline in the UK has had to rely on the service sector. But in the service sector, we've seen above average inflation, with weak productivity and strong inflationary pressures. Since 2021, the UK price level has risen 28%, compared to 23.5% in the Eurozone and 22% in the United States. Now, as an economist and creator, I'm constantly analysing high-density information from policy briefings to the latest inflation data. And in this field, manual note-taking is a major time drain and can be inaccurate. That's why I've integrated the new Claude Note Pro into my workflow as my professional assistant. It's the size of a credit card, but functions as a powerful AI note-taker. It's got 4 built-in microphones. It captures crystal clear audio from up to 5 meters, while the AMOLED screen shows recording status and battery at a glance. One charge supports 50 hours of continuous recording, easily powering through a full working week. And it's more than a recorder. It captures the whole meeting by combining your audio, photos, and live notes. And when a key point arises, one click clips for 15 seconds before and after that moment. And from there, you can choose from 10,000 plus templates to generate custom summaries, label speakers, and create instant mind maps or task lists. The Ask Claude feature is a game changer. I can instantly query my history, like asking for specific interest rate figures, and get immediate answers, even draft follow-up emails. And for anyone handling sensitive data, privacy is non-negotiable. Claude is fully compliant with GDPR and HIPAA standards. It's a long-term investment in your productivity. So to stop losing key ideas, check the QR code or link below to upgrade your workflow today. So this raises a question, why does the UK have higher inflation? Many reasons. Since 1980, the UK has built housing at half the rate of the G7 average. This has contributed to soaring house prices and rising rents. And although rents are not fully captured by inflation, this has increased the cost of living and stymied labour mobility. The UK economy is heavily reliant on the London economy, but for many people, they can't afford to live there. UK rents have risen well above inflation in the past 5 years, and combined with rising student debt, the younger generation are particularly economically strained. Also, despite very weak productivity growth in the past 16 years, labour costs have risen a lot in recent years due to a big rise in the minimum wage and ill-fated national insurance tax rises. and this has been a factor in pushing up unemployment in recent months. But the fear is that unemployment will continue to grow later in the year. Now, the problem is that the UK governments have often sought to tackle problems not at the source, but where they appear later in the economy, kind of whack-a-mole, but you solve a problem here and it pushes it elsewhere. So, when energy prices rose in 2021, a bailout was pushed onto general taxation. The government have announced plans to reduce green levies and electricity costs for industry, which is welcome for the dwindling industrial sector, but what it means is shifting the cost to general taxation or household bills. With house prices stubbornly high, the government is considering reviving a form of help to buy. But this doesn't make housing cheaper, it only changes who pays for it. The fundamental problem is that while sales prices have risen only 1%, construction costs of housing has risen 17%. And this is why house building is slumping, meaning the government's target of 350,000 homes will almost certainly fail. Now, this is partly due to higher raw material costs, but also increased regulatory burdens, which have hit home building, especially in London, where it is most needed. In recent years, both debt and taxes have risen. Rather than fundamental changes such as increasing the basic rate of tax or ending a pension triple lock, the government have preferred to nibble away at the edges, trying to mince test winter fuel, but then U-turning after popular backlash. And that leaves the worst of both worlds: a hit to consumer confidence, political decline, but no real change in the debt trajectory. It means the UK has seen some of the highest bond yields in the advanced world, and this has pushed up debt interest payments, which have an opportunity cost of spending cuts or tax rises. And with welfare and pension spending set to rise considerably over the next few years, the IMF have more bad forecasts for the UK. Tax as a share of GDP will continue to rise 4.5% points to 40% of GDP, a post-Second World War high. And this is a bigger tax rise than anywhere else. The next biggest is France with just 1% rise. And it's higher taxes and the threat of higher taxes that have led to households cutting back on spending. But there's more bad news to come in that area. Also, with weak consumer demand, firms have cut back on investment. The UK has had one of the lowest levels of investment in the G7 for considerable time, and it's been hard to break this cycle of low investment and low growth. The UK has one of the highest buybacks of shares in the world. It reflects a lack of ambition by UK firms. Rather than investing in improving productivity, firms are happy just to buy back their shares. The decline in UK business dynamism can also be seen in this decline in job reallocation rates. If you keep doing the same job with the same capital, productivity doesn't grow. And when productivity doesn't grow, the economy stagnates like it is at the moment. And of course, it's not just the UK economy which is struggling. The global energy shock comes on the top of new global tariffs. UK exports to the United States have been hit by Trump's tariffs, and trade with Europe has been held back by post-Brexit regulations and new barriers to trade. Now, a more optimistic case for the economy would rest on a quick resolution to the Iran war and full opening of the Straits of Hormuz. Though for this year already the damage has been done, and the hopes of a quick resolution are still limited. Nevertheless, there are a few factors which could give some crumbs for comfort. The initial fears that the inflation shock would lead to a big rise in interest rates are starting to fade. It makes no sense really to increase interest rates when the economy faces recession and rising unemployment. Secondly, although oil and food prices are rising, gas prices have been much more stable, at least compared to 2022. The inflation shock is not expected to be anything like 2022 because of the underlying economic weakness. Also, there are other areas that are good news. Rents have stopped rising for the first time since 2017. The government have also taken tentative steps to try and break the link between gas and electricity. The removal of the carbon price support scheme from 2028 will start to make electricity a little cheaper. Yet these crumbs of good news are mostly outweighed by the bigger long-term challenges, which have all been worsened by the latest energy shock. At the start of the year, there really was some hope the UK economy would turn something of a corner, tender shoots of recovery. But the current oil shock is set to hit the UK economy particularly hard. And this is the problem. A weak economy can easily be tipped into a technical recession by external events. So what does all this mean for house prices? Always a popular topic in the UK. This video looked at the prospect for future prices given the oil price shock. Thanks for watching, do subscribe and see you soon.